Hi, everyone. Today is Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025. Welcome. I'm Jeffrey Morgan, and this is a talk I host twice a week to discuss my experiences on the path of soul transcendence. This offering is brought to you by the movement of spiritual inner awareness with the encouragement and support of my friend John Morton, who holds the mystical traveler consciousness, which is the spiritual consciousness that does the work that we're doing here today. If you're new to the call, the format is simple. We're going to start by calling ourselves forward into the light, which is calling our awareness forward into the light of God that's already present. And then we're going to chant 3 Anai hues. Hue is an ancient name for God, and Anai invokes a quality of empathy and compassion. And then I'm going to play a video clip from my teacher, John Roger. And then I'm going to do a reading from Khalil Gibran, Jesus, Son of Man. And then we can talk about whatever you would like. I don't think I see Ron Holnick here tonight, unless I'm missing him. Okay. All right, everyone. You can, if you'd like, you can gently close your eyelids. Father, Mother God, beloved friend, we call ourselves forward once again into your love, light, and sound. And as we reach up into our higher form, we ask to be filled, surrounded, and protected by the light of the Holy Spirit and the light of the Christ, so that only that which is for the highest good will take place here. And we ask for this, Lord, with love and understanding. We open ourselves even more fully to receive of your guidance and your healing and your clearing. And we ask that any karma or negativity that can be lifted at this time be taken into the highest realms of light and dispersed into the nothingness from which it came. And in its place, the presence of the beloved that we all are. We ask for a special blessing of light, particularly on anybody we may have upset or against us with, anybody who may have wronged us in our mind. We ask that they be filled with joy and peace. That if there's anything, any blessing that can be extended, that anything can be done to support them, Lord, we ask that whatever suffering drives the harmful behaviors, the violence, the upset, we ask that it be cleared through grace. That we walk on this planet as the loving made manifest, as the living love. We ask for a clearing, that anything that may be blocking that unconditional loving from flowing freely from our hearts and into all of creation, especially into those places that need it. We ask for the wisdom and the grace to let it go and to let the river of the beloved flow freely through our words, through our deeds, through every breath that we take. We call forward more fully our own divine true nature. May all beings everywhere be filled with joy and peace. And we are so grateful, Lord, for we know that the blessings already are. And we know that above all, your will is done. And for this we give our thanks again and again. Berush Beshan.
Why on earth do you think we're allowed so many mistakes?
¿Por qué crees que se nos permiten tantos errores?
Because God loves us.
Porque Dios nos ama.
Why do you allow your children so many mistakes?
¿Por qué permites que tus hijos hagan tantos errores?
You knew they had to make them.
Tú sabías que tenían que cometerlos.
Why did you show them how to do it better?
¿Por qué les mostraste cómo hacer las cosas mejores?
Because you knew how to correct the mistakes so they didn't have to do it over and over.
Porque tú sabías cómo corregirlos para que ellos no tuvieran que repetir y repetir y repetir.
If you do that to your children,
Si tú haces eso con tus hijos,
then would not God do that to us?
¿qué no haría Dios eso para nosotros?
He does do it to us.
Sí lo hace con nosotros.
We're allowed the choices of mistakes till hell won't have it.
Se nos permiten las opciones de los horrores hasta que el infierno se congele.
And since hell won't have it,
Y así que como el infierno no lo va a aceptar,
heaven will.
pero el cielo sí.
And what we start here
Y lo que nosotros empezamos y emprendemos aquí
towards perfection,
hacia la perfección,
the Holy Spirit will finish it with us in the spirit world.
el Espíritu Santo lo terminará en el mundo espiritual.
We're blessed.
Estamos bendecidos.
Okay. This is a reading from Jesus, Son of Man by Khalil Gibran, one of my favorite books. This is Simon of Cyrene, he who carried the cross. I was on my way to the fields when I saw him carrying his cross, and multitudes were following him. Then I too walked beside him. His burden stopped him many times, for his body was exhausted. Then a Roman soldier approached me, saying, "Come, you, strong and firm built, carry the cross of this man." When I heard these words, my heart swelled within me, and I was grateful, and I carried his cross. It was heavy, for it was made of poplar soaked through with the rains of winter. And Jesus looked at me, and the sweat of his forehead was running down upon his beard. And he looked at me and he said, "Do you too drink this cup? You shall indeed sip its rim with me to the end of time." So saying, he placed his hand upon my free shoulder, and we walked together towards the hill of the skull. But now I felt not the weight of the cross, I felt only his hand, and it was like the wing of a bird upon my shoulder. Then he reached the hilltop, and there they were to crucify him. And then I felt the weight of the tree. He uttered no word when they drove the nails into his hands and feet, nor made he any sound, and his limbs did not quiver under the hammer. It seemed as if His hands and feet had died and would only live again when bathed in blood. Yet it seemed also as if he sought the nails as the prince would seek the scepter, and that he craved to be raised to the heights. And my heart did not think to pity him, for I was too filled to wonder. Now the man whose cross I carried has become my cross. Should they say to me again, carry the cross of this man, I would carry it till my road ended at the grave. But I would beg him to place his hand upon my shoulder. This happened many years ago, and still, whenever I follow the furrow in the field, and in the drowsy moment before sleep, I think always of that beloved man, and I feel his winged hand here on my left shoulder. Okay, what do y'all want to talk about today? Robin, have you shared before? Once. Okay. Well, then we'll go to Gregory.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Hi. Yeah.
Hi. I'm aware of little light buzzing around my cheeks, which I'm not accustomed to as a sensation. That's an interesting sensation to be feeling. It feels like a little percolation that started in my belly and is like moving up. So I just want to acknowledge that. I'm in DSS year 5, and I'm preparing. I'm living my practical treatise as I'm writing my practical treatise. And something that's come up that I've already experienced considerable clearing around, but I would like feedback on, if you have any insights or support, is I was experiencing resistance in the writing process.
Hmm.
And I've loved the actual substance of all of my methods and doing the work, and everything about it is just, it's like being in prayer for 5 years or more, obviously. But the writing of the practical treatise, what came up was something, in terms of my identifying of the resistance, something around it's not okay to celebrate. Like, it's not okay. It's not uh, safe to celebrate one's wins. It's not, for me, safe to celebrate my wins.
Hmm.
And even with the clearing that I've done around that in recent days, I woke up this morning, and after doing SEs, I went on a walk, and then there was a little related thing, not the all of me, but this part of me that went Dr. Vahanian, like having a DSS is it sounds like with these extra initials that somehow there's more respect associated with it. And then some part of me feeling either that it's not safe, or that I'm somehow undeserving that part of that respect. So that's that's what I'm bringing to the altar to give up to God, and I welcome any support.
Um, that reminds me, when I was in college studying abroad, I didn't have any MSIA people nearby, and I ended up studying with some rabbis, and that was really comfortable for me. And I remember learning about Avram. They like to talk about Abraham a lot, and supposedly he set up an eshel, eshel meaning like It's like an acronym for a bed and breakfast, I guess, at the crossroads of two major trading routes of the ancient world. And he would have people stay over and he would say, well, if you praise the Lord, right, then you can stay here for free. But if you want to just pay me, then here's my rate, and it's very, very expensive. What occurred to me when you were speaking is it's like, from what perspective do you seek validation? From what perspective do you seek recognition? Who is the doer? And and maybe writing the practical treatise is difficult because you feel like you're writing the practical treatise versus you're just taking notes, or versus the practical treatise is writing itself. And for newer people on the call, we're referring to the doctorate in spiritual science offered through Peace Theological Seminary and College of Philosophy. And we're talking about a practical treatise as a final paper to finish that coursework. I'm just giving people context. So I'm constantly reminding myself that even in the most mundane aspects of my life, that this is God's work. And when it's God's work done God's way, then I don't really have to worry about who gets the credit, who doesn't get the credit. It's like everybody gets the credit and nobody gets the credit. And the block about am I worthy? Well, it's like, who's asking? Worthiness is kind of an irrelevant question when we talk about your God essence, right? If we're talking about you as a soul or you as God essence, we're already talking about an inherent worthiness. But if we're talking about you as the personality, then you have to say worthy according to whom, and according to what standard, and according to what psychic genetic patterning about trying to stay low and humble, or according to what class system, or according to what programming from society, or according to what you go into all of those details. But if you shift the perspective and say, okay, I am this spiritual form that is given responsibility for this karma and this body and all this stuff as a vehicle for learning in alignment with the soul's destiny, then all of a sudden, a lot of those questions start to drift away. The questions of worthiness and the questions of, I will say that with anything like what we're talking about, where you're writing something, there's actually karmic windows associated with that. And there's also a perfect timing for the energy that comes through the writing. I remember talking to someone about writing a book with JR, and they said that it was a very frustrating process because they just couldn't finish it. And they would put it on the shelf and they'd call JR, and JR was kind of like, oh, don't worry about it. And eventually they just shelved the entire project. And it was just on there. And then at a certain point, the person had, I think, a conversation again with JR where they were hit by some inspiration. It's like it unblocked the whole thing. And then in a period of like a day, the book was finished. And as much as we like to control God's timing, I've never really found much success there. And I do the same thing with legal work or with any other stuff that I'm doing. It's like I'll see the deadline and I'll say, I'd really like to get this done way in advance. And I'll start working on it, but it just won't flow. But for some reason, late at night, the night before it's due, all of a sudden I'll know exactly what to say. The mind that is programmed and inculcated with the standards and preferences of others will tend to say that is a defect in your method or something that doesn't work. But once you're in harmony with how your karma is set up, then the delay becomes part of the method. Like, oh, this is the part where I plant the seed, and then this is the part where I leave it alone for a while and go do other things and let the parts of me that I'm not aware of process it. And then this is the part where I get inspiration in the sleep state, and this is the part where I wake up at 2 a.m. and then I know how to write it. It's not comfortable for the mind. It's not, but we're always invited to greater cooperation with how it is that we work. Not sure if that's helpful.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. All of it. There's additional things coming through as you're sharing. You're inspiring additional. I've I really appreciate the reframing of what potentially could be interpreted as an issue, as a blessing, as part of the process. Um, the
Have you
to,
watched the seminar Issue to Process? I think it's called Issue to Process.
no, I'm not familiar with that one, but
Maybe
I'm writing
somebody
it down.
can post the correct name or something in the chat. I think it's from moving from issue to process or something like that. A lot of it's attitude. If you relate to something as an issue, you've got an issue. If you relate to something as a process, you got a process. And the truth is, on the lower levels, you're only dealing with process. You're only dealing you're only dealing with that. So, as much as we'd like to change things and make them work the way we work and have a finality and a beginning, middle, and end the way we think it should work, everything's in constant motion down here, a constant birthing and dying and rebirthing and redying and transforming and metamorphosing. From issues to process. I don't, that wasn't bad. That's
Yeah,
the
thank you.
links in the chat.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I'm reminded as you're describing what you just described in part, I'm reminded of the bamboo example of the bamboo starting out like a little sprig and months go by and nothing. More months go by, nothing. And it's taking deeper root. And then finally, after however many months or years, all of a sudden it goes like this, and people marvel, but it needed to take the root. So I appreciate for the part of me that has had a measure of stress inside with my mind running, what's up? Like why aren't you? I've simultaneously been clearing, tending, and holding. And in recent days, there has been a shift, including a recognition along the lines of what you initially said, which is I'm not really celebrating me. I'm part of the celebration, but what I'm really celebrating is God, Spirit, the traveler's work in me, through me, as me, and in this process. And and what feels really sweet, it just feels like what's very normal for me, which is thank you as a prayer. Like it just feels like all I'm doing in my practical treatise is writing a big thank you letter for the blessing of the support and the unfoldment and the awakening that I'm continue to enjoy. Thanks.
Bless you.
God bless you. Thank you so much.
All right, Robin.
Thank you. Um, just wanting some more insight into this karmic situation I'm finding myself in. I invited somebody into my home at a point where I felt like I needed something from him. And turned out when he actually came to stay that I didn't feel safe with his presence. And after about 7 days or so, I um I asked him to leave. And he had packed up all of his things from across the country from Washington State and drove, well, he didn't pack up all his things. Sorry. He packed up things and drove his car across the country to live in my home. And it was a big um, moment for me to be completely authentic and say, this isn't working for me. Um, and now I find myself, so he just left my house today, and we're traveling to Costa Rica on Thursday. And somehow I find myself still in this role of needing to bring him with me to Costa Rica and be with him for a couple of days before kind of like transferring him to somebody else. That's how it feels. Um, and yeah, so I'm just, yes, I've made it an issue and a process. Um, and I don't know, I'm just wanting to feel it and be with it in a different way than I have been.
And it's really easy to assume that you not being comfortable or not enjoying something is an indication that you're off track,
Mhm. Yes.
or to doubt your decision making or things like that.
Yeah, it's true.
It's funny, I was reading an really interesting article about karma where the author was talking about how the name of the game is to play it. Like the name of the game is to actually do the stuff we have ahead of us and to learn what we have to learn ahead of us. And they gave this really funny example of what if what if, the story of Jack and the Beanstalk happened the way it should have happened, where everybody didn't enter the karma, didn't get involved, didn't have anything. There was no evolutionary process. You could imagine he comes home with these beans and the mom doesn't throw them out the window. She puts them on the mantle and says, "Oh, what a wise decision. I'm sure you're a great smart boy," and the whole thing. And then none of the evolutionary process, none of the heroism, nothing happened. And I thought that was very funny
Mm.
because from the perspective of the mind, we're constantly trying to edit and go back and say, well, if only I had not made that mistake, or if only I had not done this, or if only, maybe if I didn't step in this direction, I wouldn't have had this happen to me. And inevitably, there is distortion in the way that we perceive it. But more than anything, there's a distortion in the way that we relate to it, where we think for some reason we were not meant to be in that uncomfortable situation. If you're pulled to have this person on the trip or have this person in your house, all this kind of stuff, if that's a pull, whether there's something there or not, it's like, we'll put it like this. It's not about whether you're meant to do it. It's just there is karma, there is data, there is stuff there. So either you work it inside of you to a point where you don't feel the pull, where you find the truth and then you don't feel the pull. But if you haven't really figured it out and all you know is there's a karmic pull and it doesn't necessarily involve hurting yourself or hurting others or not taking care of yourself or not taking care of others, you know what I mean? Like, I have this radical perspective that goes until I know the answer, until I can authentically extricate myself from this karmic situation, it does me no good to pretend like I'm not in the karmic situation. It's
Yeah.
much, much better to kind of laugh about it and go, yeah, I really have no idea what I'm doing. For some reason, I'm taking this person to Costa Rica. I guess we'll see. And then I'm constantly praying, Lord, please reveal to me the freedom here. Please reveal to me the secret that will allow me to walk karmically free through this situation or through grace. And it'll happen in an instant. When I was younger and I tried to pretend to be a good movement kid, I didn't really, it's like avoidance became a way of maintaining an image. So it's like if I could pretend that I didn't have a karmic thing here, I didn't pretend that I wouldn't have this emotion, or pretend that somehow I could fit the image and live up to the standard that I had invented for myself. Oh, well, I'm a spiritual person, therefore I must be like this, but I'm not like this. Oh no, I must not be a spiritual person. And I think a lot of us who have spent significant time in MSI can relate to that, going, wow, I'm really stuck in this. I must really be I must really be in remedial school for, spirituality if I'm still stuck in this situation. But that's just not how it works. The most spiritual person in the world still has human karma. They still got to walk through it. And to a large extent, whether or not the people that walk through it, whether or not they actually have an easy time, a hard time, whether they're pulled into stuff, not pulled into stuff, it's usually a product of karmas that they set in motion in other lifetimes. And for people like me who have been making a lot of trouble for a lot of lifetimes, sometimes you just got to eat some stuff. But it's not a punishment, it's a completion so that we can go home. It's a lesson so that we can go home. It's a fulfillment of a purpose. And so the mind will seek to explain and justify your righteous position in relation to other people, because that's what minds are good at doing. But in reality, we attract to us exactly the people we need to work with. And we have exactly the experiences that we need to have. And we really don't need to worry about fixing anything. We just need to focus on the loving and following the loving where it goes. So for me, in terms of the decision making and all this, it's like follow the loving. Well, my mind says this is bullshit, and then my mind says that I don't like it. It's like, well, I have this inherent trust that the loving will take me where I need to to go. Including Costa Rica with somebody I don't want to hang out with. But if you fight it in your mind, you're going to miss the lesson. If you fight it in your mind, you're not going to see why this was perfect. You're not going to see all the opportunities for growth and learning and loving.
Yeah, seeing some more of it now as you're speaking.
And more than anything, you lose the opportunity for laughter.
Yeah, that's true.
It's funny. Human karma is funny. I know it's not comfortable, but from the perspective of the soul, it really is quite funny.
Yeah, I could see the humor in this.
Of course.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else?
No, I'll just sit with that.
I saw a little movement in your energy as we were talking. How does it feel in there?
Yeah, it feels, well, I feel, as I said to Charlie earlier, I know he's here somewhere, like I feel really grateful because I know this is clearing some really important things. Now I have another piece as you were talking. So I feel grateful for that too. And I get like it's actually really funny that I'm taking him to Costa Rica because I don't want to be with him at all.
It's
And
awesome. It's like a performance art piece.
it's ridiculous. I mean, um, in the funny way. So yeah, I think you gave me some language and some words that I will use, and also I have time before then to to be with it in a way that might help, might be supportive before I get there on Thursday morning. Thank you.
God bless you. All right, Wendy, what you got?
Okay. Well, what you said to the first participant was helpful because I certainly have had that pattern of leaving things till just closer to deadlines, avoiding things till the last minute. Sometimes maybe avoiding things totally. I don't know. Maybe I've avoided too much. I guess what I was getting was like accepting my process because that certainly is my process. But then should I be doing more complete? Well, would it be better for me to be doing more completions? Because there was a loving each day recently, and I'm going to read it because it really pushed some stuff for me. This life is actually very easy. Do and complete, do and complete, do and complete, do and complete. No karma. So you're going to do and then not do, karma. Start and do and not finish, more karma. Feel bad about all of that, more karma. And when something happens that really disturbs you, get up and instantly release it. JR. So that really, I was in tears when I read that. So I don't know if you've got anything around that you're seeing or coming up. I don't know. That really has sort of said, pay attention to this. And I know JR says if you're not doing completions, you're not getting off the planet. Well, I want to get off the planet, hopefully for good this lifetime, if that's for me. But anyway, over to you.
Do you know, it's really difficult to know exactly what is completing and what is starting in our experience.
Mhm.
I think we can spend all our time worrying about whether we're completing enough to get off the planet. And at the same time, I think that would be time better spent loving and serving the one in front of you or chanting your tone so you can already experience getting off the planet. And you know, the funny thing is as you experience more fully, living simultaneously in the God consciousness as you're operating this body and interacting on this level, you kind of become a bit more nonchalant and a bit more relaxed about this notion of like, is this my last lifetime? In the very beginning, everybody is just who's attracted to this work. They're usually attracted because they're real tired of being on this planet. And they have this awareness that they're at Disneyland eating the crappiest funnel cake, lifetime after lifetime, riding all the rides. And like the one that makes you woozy, you got to ride on that one the most. And we have the sense of like, oh my God, I just want to get out of here. But this really peculiar thing happens. What happens from my experience is you experience a sense of oneness where you lose identification with an individuated beingness and you lose any reference point other than this great ocean of love and mercy, and then beyond it in a kind of a silence that I couldn't explain to you if I tried. And then at a certain point, it's almost like a choice. Like you can stay in there, but you can't stay in there and have the body, or you can go back in and you can become a commutator of that light, and the light passes through and expresses into the planet. And as you do that, it's like on these talks, it becomes very easy to see that God consciousness present equally in all of creation, as the mystical traveler consciousness is in everything, everywhere, all at once.
Mm.
And you start to become aware that there was never a separation. There was never a separation between us and God, and there was never an us and God in the first place, that it was this cosmic play that really assisted us in um, gaining the experience that we needed in order to fulfill the purpose of this creation pattern. But that ultimately, as quickly as it seemed real, it seems false. And I enjoy entering the dramas of this planet. It's very entertaining to me. I enjoy working my karma. It's not always comfortable, but it is always entertaining. And I think that a key for completing is really keeping your focus very simple and very singular. If I'm just loving and serving the one in front of me, or I'm just serving God, I could choose to look at completion on the basis of the physical state of my house. And then you go, well, I got mess everywhere and I have all this, and I have a shed full of belongings that I have nothing to do. Well, I mean, it's like, it's good housekeeping. It's good ecology if you want to clear out that energy to throw away or give away those things that bind up your psychic space. But it's never really served me to try to figure out what it is that I'm starting and what it is that I'm completing, because I have the capacity, when I'm really focused in that loving, when I'm chanting my tone throughout the day, that the beginning and end of every action is a self-contained universe. Like I've often told people, if you really want to have an experience of the soul, start treating listening as a complete action. Like if I'm here with you and you're talking, that my listening to you is a complete action. It's not, I'm listening so I can say something. And that's why sometimes it's like when people will start talking and talking and talking, I'll just sit there and listen, because the listening is a complete action. And then we'll just be waiting in silence and they go, well, aren't you going to say anything? It's like, well, you didn't ask me. You didn't ask me anything. So to me, the smallest unit and the most attainable unit of completing what we start is in the present moment, where we choose to start and end the thought, to complete the thought. Now, the tricky part is, even if we're living in this consciousness of infiniteness through the sound current, and we're constantly bringing forward that presence, we're still on the physical, astral, causal, mental, etheric level, completing incomplete actions from past lives. So you could have very saintly, like, countenance, and you could have this incredible consciousness that is so pure and loving, and yet you're still going to potentially have to have really negative thoughts because you started an action of really negative thoughts in a past life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that JR was training us to be bean counters, to track every single molecule of every single level of our existence. You can't win that anyway. Completion happens through the Christ and through the mystical traveler ultimately. The way the yogis explain it is the mystical traveler consciousness, right? Which they might call the consciousness of the Satguru or things like that. What they say is that we as initiates are responsible for what's called pralapta karma, that will essentially be just the karma we have for this lifetime, what JR would call our 10% level. So we're responsible for the ebbs and flows of our karma in this lifetime only. Now, the karma that supposedly keeps us bound to the physical level is called sanchita karma, and that's like all of your karmic reserves on all these other dimensions, and you really have no hope of cleaning all that up. So when you're initiated by the mystical traveler consciousness, the mystical traveler starts to clear that bit out. So all you got to do is walk through your life and the rest of it gets handled. We place the intention on completing what we start because that is a very clean way to live, a very clean approach. But if you worry about not getting off the planet, then you're taking darshan of not getting off the planet. If instead you focus on living in the soul realm right now and knowing that right now, you're taking darshan of the soul realm, and your own love and devotion will pull you in that direction. It's in the Bible, right? Let your eye be single. You know, the eye is the light of the body. It's not about not looking at dirty pictures. It's about keeping your focus on the Lord. My experience is the sound current's the only way I know how to do that. The spiritual exercises and the sound current's the only way I know how to do that. That connecting inwardly is the only way that I know how to do that. Because anything I keep my eye on down here, including the worship of completing what we start in the physical level, is something other than. But so it's, for me, it's always about order of priority. So seek first the kingdom of God. So seek first that intention of the soul realm, and then allow yourself as a soul consciousness to take better and better care of the habit patterns in the body and the addictions and all the things that come with having a body. And you start to it's not really purify but quicken. That energy of the soul starts to permeate every cell more fully, and sometimes the old habits just fall away. You have a bit of an addiction to control. And so your whole pattern about completing what you start is trying to create a sense of control and knowing about how all this works. And you're not going to do that with that mind because that mind is too limited.
Yes.
Instead, focus on experiencing yourself as God consciousness right now. And then allow the completions and allow the cleanliness of your physical habit patterns to be a reflection of the cleanliness of your consciousness, because you're constantly letting go and letting go and letting go and submitting to that spirit that flows through you.
Very helpful. Thank you. Bless.
God bless. Thank you.
Hi.
Hello. Do you want me to use your pseudonym?
I was just being funny because that's how you pronounce my last name and my first initial is a C. Anyway, um, so my question is about it's about the energy that initiates and ministers carry. I've had lots of experiences, but the most recent was this past weekend. I was coming back from the beach. It's a country road. It's out in the middle of nowhere, and I came across this young lady who had unfortunately wrecked her car. She's young, 22, and there was a guy who had also stopped to help her, and when I looked at her, I identified myself that, I'm not a weirdo. And the guy was like, well, I'm a nurse. And I said, decide who you want to help you. And it didn't matter to me. And she just like locked on to me and she said, I want to go with you. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I'll help you. So anyway, we wound up spending the day together because the tow truck took forever, etc. And so I guess my question is, when I'm around other initiates and ministers, like uh, the energy all feels the same, except for John. He's different, but everybody else kind of feels the same. But I don't quite understand how does that feel to other people. I have lost a sense of how different my energy might be to other people that are not involved. Like, how do they receive that? How do you have anything for me on that? I'm just very curious about it.
My experience is people receive at the level they're capable of receiving.
Okay.
And I think that's even true for the mystical traveler consciousness. So, like, I recall this story that is probably culturally inappropriate for nowadays, but I do love it. Is John Roger was working with somebody. He tells a story that he was working with somebody who just wasn't hearing what he was saying in terms of the counseling session that he was doing. And so finally he realizes that the guy needed to hear it from more of an Eastern standpoint. So he said, all right, come to my apartment at midnight or something like that, and then I'll give you the secret, whatever that is. And so he put on like a bathrobe and like a made a fake turban out of a towel or something. That's what I was saying, the culturally insensitive part. And then um, the person came and he gave the information. And all of a sudden, the person took, oh my God, that was the most amazing thing in the world. And all he was doing was saying the same thing he was saying earlier. Ultimately, people are going to hear what they're capable of hearing. They're going to see you the way they're capable of seeing you.
Okay.
And it's like you go back to statements attributed to Jesus. The light came into the world and the world didn't know it. Well, part of me goes, well, why did the world not know it? Well, because the part of them that is Christ wasn't fully activated at that point.
Mm.
So we can't recognize that which is not activated within us.
Oh,
If you
okay.
see if you see loving, it's because loving's there inside of you and activated and aware.
Okay.
So that's why there's people around the world who are not tagged by the traveler, the mystical traveler consciousness. They saw John Roger in the flesh, and I'm just thinking, oh my God, in the flesh, and they just thought he was a nice guy.
Yeah.
I remember a really close friend of mine, his best friend was coming to an insight training. At the end of this teen insight training, this guy had the opportunity to hug JR physically in the flesh, hug JR. And we were all convinced, like, oh, he's going to hug JR and then he's going to get it. He's going to get what we were talking about. He's going to sign up for discourses. He's going to he's going to be activate. He's going to become an initiate, crazy person like we are. It's going to be awesome. He hugged the guy. He said, "Oh, what a sweet old man," and then walked away. Seriously.
Yeah.
So that's part of it. Are they going to see you? But here's the caveat. My experiences as an initiate, and particularly as a minister, your capacity to see people can sometimes activate in them parts of themselves they didn't know was there.
Mm-hmm.
So when I work with people, they may not see what I see or know the way I know or whatever it is. That's funny. They may not they may not get what's going on, but they'll start to go, I just want to be around that person. I feel safe around that person. I want to be around that person. And it's because I look in their eyes and I see the reflection of my own divinity there.
Right.
And they can feel it and it's resonating and they're saying, I know this person knows me, but I don't know how they know me and I know that I'm safe with them.
Yeah. I notice sometimes when people do feel it, there's a little bit of a like a little startle response because what you're talking about, something unfamiliar is being stirred inside of them. And every now and then I feel like, oh, you got to turn the volume down, Carla, because you're like freaking this person out.
Yeah, that's the thing. In the Bible, Jesus also warns about how the world loves its own and it'll probably hate you because of some people want to stay asleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're going to strike out at you because of what I just said. The
Right.
same thing that causes some people to go, "Oh my God, where has this person been all my life? Somebody finally sees me," is the reason why people will hate you on sight and decide that they want nothing to do with you and you can't be trusted. Ultimately, people see their own karma. That's what they see.
Yeah.
It's not it's not any more romantic than that. Most of what we perceive as memory masquerading as present reality. But that which we know is present reality masquerading as memory and thought.
It's funny you talk about the and people don't like you and mistrust you, especially the mistrust. I feel like I get a lot of that at work, and it's kind of like I've been here a really long time and I know my stuff and you know I know it. Why don't you
Well,
just
that's
why don't you just trust
that
me?
but that's the thing I was saying about memory. So what'll happen is the subconscious will effectuate a memory from a lifetime where you were irresponsible and you accidentally killed someone. And your subconscious will then send out a signal that says, I fuck up and accidentally kill people. And then the person will pick that up and go, all right, message received. I will grill you every time you do everything, and I'll make sure you don't kill anyone this time. See, I'm such a good friend to you.
I love it. That's very funny.
No, that's what happens all the time.
Yeah.
And when
Oh,
we start to understand, I mean, look, we can try to change it. A lot of the personal growth people would say, oh, well, I can do a lot of affirmations and change. Yeah, you can repattern the basic self with affirmations. That can work. That can work sometimes. I think interphasings work really well. Interphasings work really well.
okay.
But sometimes when the karma is really strong and it's very much on purpose for you to experience that, even something as ridiculous as questioning you when you've had 25 years of experience doing this one thing that they're questioning you about, and they've only been on the job for 3 years, and who the
Right.
fuck do they think they are for asking you that? That may be perfect for you. That may be exactly what you need to complete to walk straight to the heart of God. But I would, throw your pity party. I mean, I get good and pissed off and indignant when people act exactly the way my karma wants them to act. And I like getting hot and bothered and righteous. It feels real nice sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes I do that, and other times I just laugh and I'm like, okay, fine, do it your way. You'll figure out it that didn't work, and it's fine. It's all cool because you'll learn then.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll out myself. I have a karma where I will usually tell people the solution 3 years in advance. So I'll tell people this is where the organization is going. This is what you need to do. This is how we can prevent that. Then the people don't listen to me. And then sometime later, things go awry. And then somebody will come with a bright idea, the same one that I said, but they won't have my karma. And then they will then get tagged to be the head of that initiative.
Yep. And oh my God, what a brilliant idea. And you're just like, oh, geez.
Well, serves me right. I used my mouth. So then I found ways around the karma. And the benefit for me was it's actually quite funny. Uh, my superpower was my superpower in corporate America was I actually don't give a shit about having a career. I just care about like making good money and being able to do MSIA stuff and like feeding my family and stuff. Like so I don't have much ego in the whole thing unless something's off energetically, then I have to like hold the line. So my superpower when I was at a big company was I would just find the executive with the best karma to get something done. And then I would basically become their confidant and advisor and basically help them get it done. Because ultimately I just wanted the right thing to be done. So it was funny. when I started doing this, realizing that my karma was was not supporting recognition and all this other stuff, and I was like, but the problem is I still want all this good stuff to get done. So
Right.
then what ended up happening was I started developing this reputation of being this secret weapon for all these high executives. So I was getting pulled into all these meetings, all these projects, all these whatever. It's like he's this amazing guy who gives us great ideas, but then he doesn't want any of the credit. But interestingly, I didn't need the credit because everybody knew I was like the best kept secret at the studio, and people would pull me into stuff, and pretty soon I was in these meetings with like C-level executives going, how did I get into this room? See, to me, that's called dancing with your karma. I could sit there and I could pity myself and get real angry because this other person gets promotions for doing 1/10 the work that I do. And or I could simply look at how all that works, laugh about it, and then find ways to mess with that, find ways to have fun. Oh my God, nobody ever listens to my good ideas. Great. I'm going to find somebody that everybody listens to for no reason, and I'm going to give them some good ideas because then people will listen to good ideas.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I get that. I totally relate to that.
It also reminds me of so my mom's husband, Justin, I'm going to out him on the call if he's here. So he told me once, he said his secret with getting stuff approved by like planning authorities or whatever, like to get permitting authorities, is he'll go to one permitting office in one side of town and he'll ask them, well, if I wanted to get this approved, what would I say and what would I do? And he would get all this information about like how to present it. And then he would just go to the permitting office at the other part of town and say exactly what he was told to say at the first one. And then he got approved. I just think that's wonderful.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
We could we could sit and get angry about the unfairness of the government, or we could just simply give the government what they want.
Right.
I remember when I had my first job in like doing securities law at this boutique law firm with this really sweet guy. He told me, people who work in the government aren't paid that much. And and
We're not.
no, no, people who work for the government aren't paid that much. And they will treat you much better if you present them something that looks like everything else they've ever seen that takes them very little time to review. So it's like it's like the premium is on ease of reading versus actual content.
Yeah, sure. That is 100% correct.
And you're like, wow, this was so easy to read. I think I see a little problem here, but you know what? I'm just gonna prove it anyway. They made it so easy for me to read. So I think what most people don't understand is, so there's this guy, Nassim Nicholas Taleb. Have you ever read anything by him? He wrote this book called Anti-Fragile that was super, super interesting. And he talked about how the most resilient systems in existence are anti-fragile. So, meaning in the presence of stress, they actually get stronger. Like
Mm,
your muscles are anti-fragile. If you lift 50 pounds today and you struggle, next week you will have more muscle and it will be much easier for you to lift that weight. And there's a kind of a fluidity and heterogeneous quality where it's like if we can create systems that have that ability to constantly adapt and respond, you become stronger and stronger and stronger with everything. That's using everything for your both from growth and learning. Ultimately, my competitive advantage in life is a spiritual consciousness. The degree to which I treat my ego and my personality as fluid and that I can exercise that detachment, it starts to become very entertaining and it starts to become very easy to work the system because I don't see a right and wrong, good or bad. I just see something worth laughing about and I can just work it. You just work it.
and it's called anti-fragile what?
Oh, anti-fragility. Yeah, he also wrote, I think, Black Swan. Yeah, anyway, like he was, I think, a former quant who wrote um, kind of more like economic stuff about how you can't really predict the future and we're creating a world of hyper fragility because everything is too interdependent and there's no flex in the system, basically. I'm using that example which sounds very, very mental and cerebral, just to say the more you can cultivate a spiritual consciousness in relation to your work, where you just look at work as the game you're playing as a soul having a human experience, the more you can have fun and laugh about it and just think that it's funny. And the more you will probably have success, because it's like the thing that really, really got to me, like punched me in the stomach when I would talk to my boss and he would say this thing. And now I'm at a point where he says the thing and I go, oh, that's so funny.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So much. That was super helpful. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. My pleasure. Well, thank you everyone for joining the party tonight. God bless you. I love you. Peace be still. The blessings already are.